Hello, everyone. I wanted to just take a few moments to go through this PowerPoint. Usually, I use this PowerPoint in person to kind of introduce what we'll be doing throughout the semester. Nothing that's covered on this will exactly be on the exam, but it's introducing concepts that we'll cover throughout the semester. So next, we will try to define this idea of sport. So the official definition is any activity, experience, or business enterprise for which the primary focus is fitness, recreation, athletics, and leisure related. So this could really include any type of sport with the focus being for recreation or for fun. We're looking at it could potentially be referring to work. So, for instance, the athlete or also means of employment. A great example is looking at sport tourism or just the business itself. So, looking at something like sport marketing agencies as an example. So, next we'll look at kind of what the definition for sport management is. So, here it is: all people, activities, businesses, and organizations involved in the producing, facilitating, promoting, or organizing of any product that is sports, fitness, or recreation related. So, really, we're looking at the umbrella of sport. When we reference that in class, we do include fitness and recreation under that umbrella. So, oftentimes in the content we are covering in class, I might refer to sport, but don't necessarily think that I'm referring to athletics. It's a larger umbrella. So next we'll look at the nature and scope of the sport industry. Here we have listed some different settings for various sporting activities. So just read them off here. We have school and college sport programs, professional sport, amateur sport, private club sport, which most of the time we reference private clubs for various activities more specifically, but you get the general idea. We have arenas and community rec programs, sport marketing and consulting programs, developmental programs for sports, and then ultimately also our corporate sponsorships as well. Our textbook breaks sport into two different categories: traditional sport and new activities, which we'll define more in just a second. But I just want you to think about what in your head you might consider a traditional sport and what might be considered a new activity. In class, if we were actually physically in class, I would have you make lists for these. So here we have the list of what your textbook defines as traditional sports: basketball, American football, swimming, tennis, soccer, and golf, which may or may not be surprising. There may be a few on the list in your head that have been left off, but this is a general idea of the traditional sports or athletics. Here we have probably a short list, but some examples of what would be considered new activities. So, variety of aerobics, inline skating, boogie boarding, snow kayaking, parasailing, ice surfing, beach volleyball, X Games, paddleboard, etc. I'm sure if I were to have you make a list, we'd come up with several more exciting as well. Some that have come up in class in the past. Which the question was, is this actually sport? So I'll have you ponder these. What about horse racing or dancing or Texas Hold'em, scuba diving, or just working out in general? Again, if we look at the umbrella of sport also encompassing recreation and fitness, then likely these would be included as well. Next, we'll look at unique aspects for sport management. So the first here is sport marketing. We'll actually have an entire unit dedicated to that. It says sport enterprise financial structures. We will have an entire unit discussing finances, dealing with this concept again of sport, the umbrella of sport. Sport industry career paths. Throughout the semester, we will reference lots of different job opportunities and kind of what the responsibilities for those might be. I will say a lot of times it's more about who you know than necessarily what you know. So we'll talk a bit about how to network and potentially using volunteering as a potential way to generate contacts. If we were actually physically meeting in class, I would have you make a list of people who you know that you think may be able to help you make connections. So whether that is an actual individual who owns a facility or coaches for a sporting group, etc., or if it's just someone who could connect you with important individuals in terms of that networking. So we won't do that right now, but think about that for yourself. Start to make yourself a list. Sport as a social institution is the next one. So that's quite broad, and you will find that it is becoming more of a concern in our society to look at the institution of sport and its social responsibilities. Next, we'll look at future challenges and opportunities within the sporting umbrella. So if you are a glass half full type personality, you may see all of these areas as actual opportunities. So the first being technology. The sporting industry has really been driven by technology, become more information driven or based. So technology, again, being something that could be challenging, however, certainly lots of opportunities there. Ethics is the next one, and we will actually jump right in on Thursday to start talking about ethics within the sport umbrella. So really, there's lots of opportunities here. There's a lot of exciting things happening globally, but also specific to sport in terms of ethics and, as we mentioned earlier, social consciousness. So the next here, globalization of sport. I will probably throughout the semester point out that there are so many opportunities for what we consider kind of American sport to grow globally. The few instances that have attempted globalization may have not been terribly successful at this point, but I feel that very possibly this is the direction we will see this industry going, is how to globalize better. And then last is social responsibility. This ties right in again to that concept of ethics and kind of the exciting development within sports. A great example, if we look at several athletes recently using their platform to speak up about social issues. So that's kind of what we're going to be covering throughout class. Again, nothing that was on this PowerPoint is exactly going to end up on the exam, but it's kind of a preface or an introduction to what we will be covering. So plan for Thursday to jump right in. We're going to get going on some ethics concepts, and we'll be having a assignment pretty early on as well. Stay warm, and I will see you all Thursday.